Welcome to the Straight Red Card, and today Brett and I are joined by Christopher Medley, who put together a YouTube video recently that kind of spread virally all over YouTube and the soccer world.
That just sounded wrong.
I know it does, doesn't it? Like he has some sort of disease, but he doesn't. And his name is Christopher Medley, joining us from Italy via Skype, which is nice. How are you enjoying things out there, Christopher, in the great Italia?
It's great, and I'm. This is our last night. We go home tomorrow. It's been 3 months, and I'm going from one end of the world to the other. I'll be arriving in Hawaii on Tuesday night, and we're going from freezing cold to, uncomfortably warm. So, I don't know. It's going to be a trip.
Well, at least you won't have any more Italian guys hitting on your girlfriend, right? Or is it your wife?
It is my wife.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you look very young on the video, and I thought, you're probably what, in your 20s, late 20s?
I am going on 31, dude.
I'll
be 31 in March.
I guess I'm just feeling really old now, and I'm making everybody else younger than they really are.
No. I got a baby face. I take it as a compliment, all right?
That's true. I kind of had a baby face for a while, and then I hit 40, and it all went downhill. All right, so you know what, Chris? So you did this YouTube video called Soccer and the Mechanics of Sport on TV, and your real point was to say, hey, the real problem with a lot of soccer commentary during the games that we're watching is that unlike other sports like basketball and football on American television, the analysis is really kind of, we're just missing it, plain and simple. The analysis doesn't exist because a lot of times, as you point out, in soccer commentating, they don't really talk about how things happen. They just talk about what happened, which I think you're right there. And so can you let's just kind of go through your 3 points one at a time. The first thing you bring up is technique, right? That's part one of this. Can you give us kind of an overview of what that's all about and what we're missing from that perspective and how it could be included more into a game, a commentator like, say, Taylor Twellman. What could he do better?
Taylor Twellman, yes. I watched the U.S. game. I was from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. There I was watching, the what do you guys call it, the Camp Cupcake?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay, yeah. So I was watching the Cupcakers, and now since I made this thing, and it started off as kind of just something different. I noticed that I realized that I wasn't getting from my experience watching soccer. And then it became this whole, I hate American commentators too. It was like, no, that's not even my point. It's more just the way that the TV production looks at a game is just things are broken down to good, medium, or bad, and they're never explained in a way that helps people, learn about the sport. I can give you. All right, if I could give you a specific example from yesterday's game.
That's great.
Starters.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, so first of all, I know this was the first time I'd seen Taylor Twellman doing color commentary for a men's national team game. By the end, I think it seemed like he was kind of getting tired out, and it was getting more kind of superficial. But towards the end, there was a play. I'm sure you remembered. I can't remember, but someone dropped a pretty dirty back heel for Teal Turnberry. You remember it?
It was Wondolowski back heeled it. Okay,
all right. So that play, right? And then, Burnberry, he duffed the shot, right, or whatever. And then they cut to a replay right away. And, he says, all right, so here he clears out defenders. Here he goes to the back heel. And then here's the shot. And then the thing he says is, he needs to do better there with the shot. It didn't go in the goal. So, let's just go ahead and assume that a better shot is when, it rips the net. But then the only explanation he gave when he, took a deeper look is he said, well, he tried it with his left foot, which is his bad foot. It's like, what, like left feet, don't work? They're pointed different? No, it's, if you watch Burnbury in practice, and I never have, but I'm sure he can just, crack the ball with his left foot. What was it about that shot that led to it not coming off right? And if you look at it in replay, his approach to the ball, the 3 or 4 steps you make because you're approaching, he just never had his balance under him. And then so when he got to the ball, he didn't have his weight, in the right way that allowed him to generate power through his shot.
Right.
So then here's the way I kind of see it, right? So let's say that instead of just saying he needs to do better there, shame on him, we actually look at this play, and this could be done, for the people out there that are, going to hear this podcast and go check out the video. When I'm breaking down plays in the video, I'm not, first of all, God forbid I would ever be a commentator. I would rather die. But I'm not auditioning, and I'm not saying the way that they're supposed to do it. Like, a lot of people see the video and they get it and they say, this is cool and this is what I need. Other people say, well, you couldn't do it that way in a soccer game. It's not about how I would do it. It's about the need to find ways to not just, a basic, regurgitation of exactly what's happening, but to explain why. And the reason why is because that way, how many youth team coaches were watching the game last night? In America, I don't know, 1,000, 10,000, I got no clue. But what did they learn when they were watching that game that they're going to be able to turn around Monday at practice, and when they got a little 12-year-old and he duffs a shot, say, hey, why don't you try a little stutter step there to get your balance under yourself? You took too long of strides and you had no weight distribution when you went to take your shot. It's and it is so. When you start to look at it, it really just blows your mind how epidemic the broad strokes approach is to our analysis.
Right.
And it's just everywhere. And I think the thing that other sports in America get is, I call it sort of like the American Idol effect. I know you guys got, like your hardcore reps, to upkeep, but you could tell me if. I watch American Idol, right? Like I'm not ashamed to say it. Do I have any viewers on the line here?
No, you do not.
Nope, not at all.
But that's okay. Others will.
You'll still be able to follow my point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So American Idol, it's like mediocre to crappy singing. It's like the people are like totally obnoxious. The hosts and everyone, I can't stand any of them. But there I sit listening to these people sing. I will do things. I will cock my head to the side and listen more carefully. I'll close my eyes. And then my family and I start in. It's like the most ridiculous kangaroo court in the world. We sit there and we start judging these people on song selection, arrangement, pitchiness. None of us can sing to save our lives, but there we are judging on pitchiness. Because the production gives us that information. We listen to those judges sit there and make snooty remarks about people's pitchiness, and that educates us in a way that lets us do the same thing.
Sure.
It creates an interactive viewer experience.
Right.
That's why a show like American Idol is huge. Other shows have respected actors, respected writers and directors that are actually worthwhile television, but all of America's tuning into people singing and acting like idiots. And
right.
It's because they're playing along.
And I think the whole point of this is that it's all about attracting more fans, and the more they know about the technique, the more they're interested in, even simple plays that we saw yesterday. And in other sports, they're always talking about technique. Look at the way he went under and over the basket rather than going straight towards it. You talked about Steve Nash and the way he uses technique to sort of overcome, his shortness, if you will, compared to the rest of the league. He uses his speed and all the maneuvers he did. But, there are some guys out there, there's some announcers, and, we were talking about Taylor Twellman, who are even worse about this in many ways, and you pointed out in your video, than even, say, the American announcers. You look at Ray Hudson, for instance. Everything is about, it's the Messi magic. He's always going nuts. But he doesn't describe, really, all the balance and the technique that it takes for, Lionel Messi. If you're an American viewer and you're watching that and you're just learning the sport, it isn't about magic. It's about his technique, and you point that out in the video, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we're not satisfied with that. And I argue that we as soccer fans, and I'm one and you guys are too, we enjoy soccer in spite of the TV experience instead of because of it. And that's a very difficult recipe to generate new fans. There's so much expected of fans. If you want to learn about soccer, you're just not going to do it watching a game unless you have a very specific skill set that allows you to learn by teaching yourself and picking things out that are just not pointed out to you. American football makes no expectations that my mother, who watches every 49ers game, she's watching right now, she's gonna sit there and get how rad it is that the lead blocker on this play opened up a gap for the running back. They know that she's not gonna make connect the dots, so they do it for her. And I'm not talking about soccer 101. We're way past that. Mm-hmm. It's about the fact that soccer and knowledge about soccer seems to plateau for people. It's like once you get the nuance, as they say, and that's always a big thing. It's like, I know that soccer's complicated. I know there's lots of nuances, and I don't get those, so screw it. But then it's like once you get all those little wily comments full of subtext, like, oh, they need to play with more maturity. It's like, yes, when he says play with more maturity, I know what he's talking about. Don't hack people from behind, don't make problems. Mm-hmm. But, for my mom, who, if you want her to be a fan, you tell her that, what is she expecting them to, like, run out there with, like, top hats and monocles? Right. It just has no context.
Right.
And a soccer game, when you really start looking at it, is totally full of that. And it's just, there's a huge impetus to fill the TV experience with knowledge about the world of soccer. Mm-hmm. And not about the sport of soccer. And it blows my mind for a couple of reasons. All right, you guys are fans, and you guys are involved in a very real way in the sport. So when you're watching a game, right, and the announcer's going on and on about, some coach is on the chopping block, or there's transfer rumors about some player, those kind of things, you hear that and your mind thinks, oh, well, that's not useful information. I know that already. But then again, I'm involved in the world of soccer. I should know those things, right? But you got to remember that fans like me, I watch a few games a week and I read probably 1 or 2 articles a day about soccer. And just that level of participation means that all those little tidbits they're rattling off in a game, I know every single one of them. It's not new information. It's just dead air to me. Mm-hmm. Then you have someone like that's not a fan or a very, you put my mom in front of a TV and they're talking about how Tim Ream, he might go to Bolton. She's like, well, what's a Bolton? And she doesn't care, and she never will. Mm-hmm. So it's like damn near half of the things that they talk about, besides just, so-and-so's passing to so-and-so, are like lost on, I'd say more than 3/4 of the people that are listening, either because they know it already or they just don't care and it's totally irrelevant. And these are just opportunities where you can take just little tiny bits and pieces, the smallest little things, right? And illuminate them, and they say it's so hard to do in a soccer play. When you listen, Twellman, I see the way that it's laid out for him. It's like an interesting play happens and they know they've got 10 seconds before, the goal kick. So they fire the replay right away. And it's like what he's doing is as quick as he can. He's trying to re-announce that play while pointing out, 7 or 8 things. Mm-hmm. And
right.
It's just useless. There's nothing, don't take one thing, take one little thing that was interesting about that play and point it out. And that one little thing, those viewers are going to take with them for every game they watch and every time they step on the field.
Yeah.
And